Hey!
What's going on, people?
What up, Conscious fam? Welcome to the Conscious Outlet Podcast. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, okay? So we can keep bringing you amazing content, all right? We want to keep doing that. I'm Mirakle Monique.
And I'm Alan J.
And welcome back. It's a new year. We in 2024.
2024.
Can you believe it? We got big plans this year, okay?
Yes.
So again, make sure you like and subscribe, okay? We can't do this without you. We want to keep bringing you all this amazing content. We hope you brought in the new year with family, with friends, and entering a new state of mind where your body, mind, and spirit can all be in alignment towards everything that's good for you, okay? Because the mind is a terrible thing to waste.
It is.
And it's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, all right? Because it seems that modern media might just be corrupting it in ways that you may not always know or understand, but it definitely is.
It's always something behind the veil.
It is. So we're going to be talking about how modern media could be influencing the way you see people, society, and especially God. And what kind of outcomes could that come to? And what are some consequences of that? How can we resolve this? Let's talk about it. We're getting back into our microtrends series. We took a little break last time, but we're back. So we're going to be discussing modern media, as we said, right? And I want to first talk about TikTok, because that's a big part of what's going on right now.
Everybody doing their little dances on TikTok
I'm
and
really
everything.
tired of those dances, to be honest. Like, I'm really tired.
It's all the trends.
Exactly. I mean, over the years, like, the entertainment bar has risen so high to the point where people in companies that push these viral moments in modern media, especially on TikTok, they tend to focus on just a couple of things, which is accessibility and niches, right? So we're in an era now where we don't have to wait for our favorite show to play on TV. We can stream it at any time that we want. And we now have the option to even watch commercials if we want. You know what I mean? And even with niches, it doesn't even stop at shows and movies. Now we can go on YouTube, watch a hour-long video on our favorite subject. That's what I do usually. So we have a lot of access now, and we have a lot of things that can cater directly to our needs. What do you think about that?
I was just talking about this yesterday with my family and friends, and because we were talking about like how it was. Like when we was little, we would play like the video games. We would play the PlayStation. We would play the Sega, and how you actually had to work to play the game. Like I remember having the PlayStation 1 and having to use my breath to clean off basically clean off the disc and all of that. Like you had to work for things in order for it to work. We didn't have easy access. We had to drive to go to Blockbuster or Movie Gallery.
Oh, Blockbuster.
And yes, a classic. Everything wasn't so instant. Like it brought a lot of nostalgia type of feeling. Just talking about it, because I feel like that was something that I feel like is still needed today, to actually have to get up and be active to go and experience just even ordering like a movie, going and actually having to read the back of the movie case just to see, okay, so what is this movie about? Because stuff,
Nobody wants to waste their time on that anymore.
See, I'm just old school. I used to love that. I used to love going with my uncle. We used to go rent video games and stuff, because like, I don't know, do they still rent video games today?
I do still see like red boxes in front of CVS's.
Yeah,
so
I'm talking.
It's a thing still, but I don't know how many people actually do it. But last time I was at CVS, someone did go up to the red box and get something, but he was a little older. He was
I'm quite sure people still use DVDs, but right now it's like, hey, streaming, get everything.
Yeah.
You get everything right now, right there, instant.
Yeah, exactly. It was like back then we kind of had to, like you said, work for it. It's like we appreciated it more.
Yes, I like that word.
Because it wasn't easy to come across, and we had to make a plan to actually either get it to work or get it in the first place, like that DVD or that movie or the game that you're talking about. Like I remember like going into Blockbusters when I was little and being around the aisles and looking in different aisles to see what movies I wanted, right? And now it's like all you gotta do is take 2 seconds, sit on the couch, and pick something.
And you know what? Actually made me think of something. So there was a certain type of restriction and protection with going to the movie store. Is because like, hey, if you're a kid, you couldn't go behind the curtain because behind the curtain was all where the pornos and flicks was at and stuff like that. So and people knew if you 12 years old and just, oh, yeah, let's see what's behind it. They were like, hey, no, little fella, this ain't your ministry right here, That's for grown folks only. So there was some type of, I would say, restriction and protection, and it was known that things had a line that shouldn't be crossed.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's so true. It makes me worry about the kids today. Because you know what? I want to look at this video talking about the iPad kids generation, because that's basically what we're in now.
Listen there.
Used to think iPad kids weren't actually a concern until last night. I was at this Italian restaurant with two of my friends when this family of 6 walks into the door with the most rambunctious kids. They're just screaming and crying the whole time. When I tell you they were loud, the waiter actually told the parents that a table from across the restaurant complained about the noise. After the parents hear about the complaints, the mom pulls out this bionic looking backpack and she opens it up and takes out 3 iPads for the 3 kids.
Wait,
One of
pause
the
that.
rats.
Can you believe she pulled out 3 of them for each kid? Right? It was for each kid? That's what he said? That's crazy.
I mean, I don't know if we want to just keep it going.
Yeah,
but
we do.
I
just had to point that out. Go ahead.
I got some comments
Kids
about that.
starts playing the Skibbity Toilet YouTube video on full volume. And you'd think the parents would reprimand the kid for that. But no, the parents tell the nanny to give the kid headphones so he can listen to it on his own.
Oh my God. It's iPad kids and gentle parenting combined. Somebody said, why is the term iPad kids instead of iPad parents? That is a really, really good point. It's not their fault. It's the way they're being raised. Like Gen Alpha genuinely is absolutely effed.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And that's a common occurrence I see all the time. Restaurants, car rides. It's like we don't allow kids to be bored.
Yeah. Oh.
I remember like sitting in a car like while it's raining on long trips, and like I would have a DVD player sometimes, but if the movie was over, I just had me. And so it'll be raining or something. I would literally like look at the raindrops on the window and say, okay, well, which one's gonna get down to the window
I used to do that too.
Really?
Yeah. I was
I'll
like, which one is going to drip
exactly.
down?
I'd be like, oh, I was wrong, not that one. And so or I would pretend I was in a music video.
How many of our, followers and our listeners used to do that? Just looking at the raindrops, drip dropping, and you're like, okay, this one started right here. Is it going to, is it going to go faster than the other one and stop? And so, that right there, what you said, just allowing like a kid to get bored, that's important, is because I think that you tend to force and push past your boredom to be creative.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Because that creativity, like to me, I think people now are creative, but I really don't think, I feel like a lot of people just biting off everybody else, which
there
is
are a lot
nothing.
of shortcuts.
Yeah. And
especially with AI. A lot of shortcuts.
Yes. It doesn't require you to actually get frustrated
and think through a problem.
Yes.
Yeah. Critical thinking is a lost art. Like over the years, a sort of pattern has emerged where we're in a state of overstimulation consistently and sensory overload, right? Mm-hmm. And that was happening to me for a little bit too. Between like high school and college, I noticed that couldn't take my eyes off a screen without maybe getting a headache for a little bit.
Really?
And and so, going from long form to short form content, it's kind of like, what are the consequences of that? I mean, how does TikTok even work, right? They have an algorithm that allows you to see everything that you want to see and more each time. So it's like each time you're scrolling, you're seeing more and more of the same things that you already preferred last time you were on TikTok, you know? And it's a really good algorithm because it'll keep you on there for some hours.
Yeah, because you end up finding something new and invigorating each time. Like, oh, you know what? I do want to start cooking, and then it goes from
Yeah.
cooking, and then it goes from that to maybe you liking sports or something. Something new is popping up each and every minute, and I think
Yes.
that's really, really uncommon just to the human psyche. I would say. I feel like, well, I know just by talking to older people, I love to just have a conversation with, people over 50, over 60, is because they tell me about times that was simpler, is because they had more value. They had time to sit down and embrace the sunset. They had time to have dinner with a person at the table and ask, hey, how was your day? How are you feeling? How's the food? Oh, yeah, I went and picked up fresh, produce from McDay's Market, aka Jackson, Mississippi. But
Shout out. Shout out
I
to the
know,
hometown.
I know. But yeah, stuff like that. I think that people overlook it is because we have been programmed and we don't know that. And also, like, people don't know that we actually created all of these things that we're actually dealing with. Desire is a very a powerful thing if you didn't know. Like, government agencies and also laws are created based off the people's desire. Like, hey, I don't want someone to steal my idea. I made somebody that used to work for me, so I'm going to send a non-compete clause or a cease and a desist. So you can't, do that. Like our words and our desires are manifested in today, and there are a lot of things that we see, whether it's this movement and wokeness, or I always say what's another movement that you see?
Oh, plenty. I mean, the gender movement,
Yes, yeah,
sexual revolution, feminism, there's plenty.
yeah. I like to call it pseudo deception, even though it's basically almost like the same thing. But
I know you like your words.
yes. It's a false thing appearing real. Like, hey,
Oh,
I can be something.
made up.
Yes, that I'm not. But if, let's say, for instance, I would say in the 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that wasn't a thing. It's because we didn't have time to I would say make ourselves feel like we are oppressed. I didn't
Yeah.
know what oppression was.
Yeah.
Because we had real life things to think about, like, hey, I'm about to go downstairs, or go down the street to my partner's Frankie house, in which this is a real story, and ride my bike down there. The only thing I was worried about was a dog was gonna chase me when I'm riding my bike down. I didn't have time, like, oh, the world is against me, and we're creating all of these issues, and thus this is, you have everybody that is, I mean, you got little kids at a high rate that has anxiety. I didn't know what anxiety was. Once you actually put a word to something, it brings it alive. Like, this world that we live in was started by a word. God's word. So, I'm telling you, that word desire is so deep, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. And what you were saying about how people are sort of focused on the wrong things, right? Because back then people didn't really have time to focus on all these things that are going through in their heads, but we have so much access to so much information now to the point where we need something to focus on. And so we focus on everything, because when you're constantly going through videos that talk about maybe a mental illness or the experience of someone else, and they're all in 10-second increments, it can really trick you into thinking you're doing something productive because of the amount of information you're gathering, when you're really just sitting there being a consumer, right?
Yeah.
You're not producing anything, you're not helping anything, you're not figuring anything out, you're sitting there over analyzing yourself and the world that you live in, and you're creating problems out of it. That's how all these issues have come about in the modern age, how many of them came about, at least. And so it's like we can no longer just associate with each other because we no longer have the people skills. Like, you have influencers who don't even like people.
Woo.
That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
How are you an influencer and you don't even like being around people? Because being an influencer, you are naturally inclined to being around people because you influence people by nature of the job that you do. And so how is it that you can claim that you don't even like people when these are the people you want to influence?
You know what? You just made me think about something. Do you think that by, I would say, just this social media or just media in general of, I like to put it in a form of, if, like a job. So a lot of influencers, they don't have, or like, you know how with a job, you got to have these certain attributes or this resume or this experience in order to even get interviewed for a job. Now everybody can be anything that they want to be without even having to put any work behind it, but just, sound like they know what they're talking about. No experience, no walking through the fire, none of that.
That's another problem with modern media too,
Yes.
especially short form content like TikTok, because with TikTok, you see the successes of everybody in, again, shorter 10-second increments where
Successes
it's like,
in numbers.
yeah,
People
where,
look at the numbers.
yeah, like I got here to here, I'm so successful now, I got this new apartment, I'm making this money, I went from $0 to $100,000 in a year, I went from this to this, it's easy to do this, all you gotta do is get an LLC, do this, get your taxes done, and now you're just making $5,000 a month. Like, people see that and they're frustrated because they're like, man, it was so easy and quick for them. Why isn't it like that for me? You don't, and they don't want to put the work in because they haven't seen that process. We only show the end result, right? And so naturally, that's just how things are when it comes to that. And so, yeah. I think oftentimes, because we can no longer watch something longer than a minute without some sort of distraction, like, I think that's why kids really love things like TikTok and even video games, because all of the colors and visuals and constant differing angles and things like that. And so that's why it's coming to the point where a lot of people aren't understanding why they have anxiety or why they feel depression all the time, because this is the world we live in, and we're no longer seeing the people behind the screen, right? We're just seeing the screen.
Yeah.
And so how does short form content influence the way we see people, right? They're becoming caricatures and entertainers, and we're getting anxious around people because we just simply lack social skills.
Could you break down that word for me, caricatures? And also for our viewers, because I just don't use that word every day.
Yeah, it's like an exaggerated form of an image or a person, right?
Oh.
Like, you ever had those funny pictures drawn of you at the fair
or like
something?
in New York and stuff, when they had the people on the side and they draw the expression,
exactly
big nose.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Exaggerated features where you're basically defined by those simple characteristics. They're now your entire definition, right? So it's easy, right, for behind the screen you to have this confidence and you go online and you see these influencers, it's kind of easy for you to not treat them like people.
Yeah.
Because you can just simply comment on their stuff and say whatever you want and not realize there's a person behind that screen that's going to read these comments or feel something for your comments, right? And so now we're at a point where we don't even see people as people.
We see them as product.
Yeah, we see
Product
exactly.
to consume and then discard when
Yep.
needed. Or if
Yes.
there is a, I would say, almost like a lynch mob that's against you, like, hey, they're wrong because of, this. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, stuff like this bothers me, is because the way that they want people to be is perfect. Like, hey, you can't hurt this person's feelings, you can't hurt this person's feelings. No, sometimes we need our feelings hurt. I mean, break my heart sometimes because I want to be a better version of me. I don't want no fake stuff.
Yeah. That's love, right? I mean,
Yeah.
love isn't acceptance. Love is telling you the truth. Love is bringing you back down to reality and letting you know what it is and what it is not.
Yes.
It's not accepting whatever you have going on because we don't want to hurt your feelings.
Yes.
That's not love. That's actually us hating you
Yes.
deeply. Because if I see you on the street and you got a booger on your nose and I just let you walk around with
Yeah.
that booger on your nose, I probably don't care about you,
Yeah.
to be honest.
I mean, yeah.
But if I care about the way you look, I care about the way people perceive you, and I overall just care about you, like, of course I'm gonna tell you, like, hey, I'm gonna just slide you this like tissue paper right quick.
Yeah.
And you got it something on
He's
your
like, hey,
nose.
cuz, I'm gonna give you some gum. Like, whenever me and my partners used to go out in college, be like, hey man, let me go ahead and give you some gum. I don't even gotta tell you that your breath raw.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. You don't have to say it like
Be
that.
hey bro, hey,
Just take
get
the
this
gum.
you
What if
know?
they don't take it though? And be like, nah, bro, I think I'm good.
I'd be like, nah, bro, you need it.
No, take it.
Take it.
Just take the gum.
Yes.
Some people can't read rooms, so that's why I asked. Like, that's funny. But I want to go to this study that was published earlier last year by the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, because they actually found many links between social anxiety and social media use in college students. And one of those things, actually, a lot of these things may not be that surprising. They just may not be. But I thought it was interesting because it really reflects where we are as a society and where we're going. And it's really concerning that we recognize these things as issues globally, but we're not really doing anything about it.
No.
We don't really care that much. As long as the product
can't.
is out, as long as the money keeps flowing in the economy, we don't care.
We can't do
Yeah.
nothing about it. Is because by the time that we're even focused on this, something else comes out, and then I think it just compound interest, and then at the end you got a whole society or like a whole era of young men and women that are directionless.
Absolutely. And that really goes to the lack of face-to-face contact too, right?
Yeah.
Because in the article, it says that while social media users may gain a lot of social contact as a result of their internet use, it decreases face-to-face contact, which may impair their social skills in the real world.
I can
We
see
see that so much, right? How many people do you know that say they have social anxiety?
Yeah.
You just lack people skills. You
Yeah.
just don't know how to talk to people because you're not around people like that. You're around your phone. You're around your screen.
I'm gonna tell you this, something else that I just thought
And
about.
all you think about is yourself
Exactly.
That's
Because
it.
one thing about
and how you relate to other people instead of how other people can relate to you.
exactly one thing I always like to give these little examples or like these little things that pop up in my head. And so one thing about just media period and using our phone and social media, you can go and do retakes. In life, you can't go and do retakes because once it's done, it's done.
And that's what brings the social anxiety with people because they know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think when I was in school, I remember in elementary, and a lot of you all may actually vibe with this. Like I just love the I would say I definitely love my childhood. I remember it was like maybe 20 or 30 of us. We used to have to go outside and we'd have this little colorful wheel looking sheet, and everybody would get like a little end of it, and we'll all be outside. And we'll, basically, it was just an activity for kids to be outside, and then we had to do something together in order to accomplish a goal. So like, hey, see, can we make this, thing look like a rainbow, a moving rainbow? And so like, just imagine 30 little kids.
Imagination.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was something that I know that a lot of people who I would say maybe 25 or 30 or older, they don't have too many problems with just that communication part, is because
They grew up around people.
Yeah.
This is why I tell people, if you have a child, please give that child a sibling.
Yeah.
Because
It's important.
Because oftentimes in kids that are only children, they only deal with themselves. They only think about themselves. Not to say that it's their fault, but because of the lack of social experience and being around different people and kids their age, they don't really know how to act. I mean, think about how often we hear about, studies of kids who need to be put in daycare early because we need to give them social experience outside of the parents, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's a big thing. Another thing I found in the article was individuals must constantly practice communication skills and modify their behavior in response to feedback from others, and focusing on internet use may limit people's opportunities to practice communication skills and correct communication capacity deficits. People simply lack communication skills. That's why people want to get rid of things like cover letters and interviews, because we just don't know how to do it in this generation without feeling like our heart's about to pump out of our chests. We want the world to be easier for us instead of just taking on the world as it is. And that's just not reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everybody want that Burger King. I want to have it my way.
All the time.
And
Because it's easy to get it your way. Like, if you grow up particularly middle class, suburban areas, like, you kind of had everything you needed without really needing anything ever. You probably never needed clothes, never needed food, never needed, any type of real assistance with getting your family the help that they needed or something like that, if that was the case. And not to say that those kids don't grow up being empathetic towards other people, because
Exactly.
they definitely do. Absolutely. But those things have to be embedded in you in a value system that has to be intentional. And that value system generally comes from the Word of God, because that's your foundation of the life that you're living. And these days, parents aren't really instilling that in their kids. And so we're seeing a lot of kids grow up materialistic because that's all they had. They didn't have these values to fall back on. It's like me, for myself personally, if I lose all my clothes, my house, everything, I know I'll still be okay, because I know I still have God in my life, and I know He would never leave me nor forsake me. But if you didn't grow up with that understanding, it's like, I need these things to feel complete.
yes, and you're operating from a place of lack and not a place of gratitude.
Yeah.
Just living life is gracious, and it shows gratitude. It's a lot of people that didn't make it from 2023 to 2024, and we know that. I mean, I've had someone that was close to me that passed away, and it was like not him. Like, it's, you can take anybody else who may be causing a mischief, but not him. And just to kind of double back on like what you were saying, so I have a friend named Tashawn. So he grew up, well off, but I will say his parents did a really, really good job on, him. And because even when I was around him and, he knew the type of, place that I grew up in, didn't have, much at all, but he never made me feel less than him because his parents was, well off and stuff like that. And I always admired that, from, his dad, Derek, and, his mom, Tanya, and everything. Like their backing was the word. Their backing, their foundation was God, and having those Christ-like characteristics, so that the love that God showed them and blessed them with, that it was just a reflection, and it was refreshing to see that. I was like, because a lot of times when it comes to certain people, when they grow up a certain way, it's like, oh, I'm better than you. Never was that. And I think the world need to really, really just open themselves up to see, like, hey, this world is more than just flesh and blood. It's more than the person who is advertising to you of, hey, make this quick $100,000, and everything will be all right. We all know that that's totally bullshit. It really is. It really is, because those millionaire people, why are they in therapy 24/7? Why are a lot of them killing themselves? If money is success, I guarantee it. Like, we would definitely see, I would say, the fruits from it. If, okay, yes, money can bring a lot of great things, and a lot of things could happen from you, having this financial security, but like, life shows that that's not it. Prime example, in 2020, a guy who he actually he invested in the stock market, and it didn't go his way. So when he looked at his, what is Robinhood?
His brokerage account?
Yeah. When he looked at his brokerage account, he saw like a negative $120,000.
Ooh-wee.
That's tough for anybody, because
Oh, that would hurt me. Oh, God, that hurt my heart just now.
Because your heart would be in your throat.
Yeah.
And so he looked at that as, it's the end, a number that can be wiped out whenever, is the end of who I am as a person, as an eternal person.
Which is so illogical, because...
And he killed himself.
Oh, that's crazy. Oh, no.
Not only did he kill himself, he killed himself in the worst way. He walked in front of a train.
Oh,
and
God.
Splat him, mango mushed.
Oh, God. Oh, that's terrible. I hate that. But it's also illogical as well to understand the amount of risk it is to invest in the stock market and know that you can possibly lose everything one day, if there's a stock market crash, or, God forbid, anything else happens. And so you should never invest money that you need. You should never invest money that you need.
And just to piggyback.
And I pray his family, oh, God, that's terrible.
You said a key word. You should never invest. You never should invest that much into the world, to where that you demean yourself lower than a piece of paper that is basically printed ink on, and that the world created value and not value in yourself. And so that's why church is important. Church is a corporate government within itself. And so like it will teach you that, hey, things aren't all what they seem in the natural, in our carnally, eyes. Like, we are spirit beings, we are energy. And so that when we come to these things, like, yes, we have to live, we got to do all of these things, but that should not negate the person that you are. You are so much more than just a person. You have a purpose. And I don't think people truly know that any person that's born, like, you may not be this famous person. You may not be you may not be like the tallest. You may not be the basketball player that everybody wants to be around, but you have a purpose on this world. You just gotta, tap into the source so you can find it out. And it's going to take time. But once again, the microwave society, the world teaches you that you have to get things quickly. And I even had that problem myself. I was like, hey, yeah, I got to make $1 million before 25. That didn't happen. I tried to get close. I worked my tail off as a engineer, and having like a business on the side and everything. Yeah, it had its ups and downs, and what I was doing at that time was I was running a rat race. I was in a hamster wheel running a rat race. Is because I was so focused on getting money because based on what the philosophy that I was taught from a very early age. Because remember, we're all taught a philosophy or a pattern, because that's what a philosophy is. It's a pattern. It's a belief system.
Yep.
And so just like God has his belief system, the world has its own and has created its own belief system. And so that was taught to me, hey, money is stability. Not, hey, if I go to God as a source, I can have all of that and my cake and I can eat it too. And that's it. That's my TED Talk.
No, you're dropping gems. I get it.
Invest in the kingdom of God. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was about to say, when did you do that?
I was like,
Invest in the kingdom of God. Yes. That is from my mom, everyone. Hey, Mom.
my other favorite woman in my life. The one who cooks for me.
I don't know what you're trying to say, but I do my fair share sometimes.
Yeah.
But yes, invest in the kingdom of God, because that will give you the ultimate return, right? People are always trying to find their purpose. When your purpose has already been enacted upon you, you just have to receive it, just like what you were saying.
Yeah.
And so once you tap into the kingdom mindset, man, and you start desiring the things that God desires of you, there's nothing that you will not accomplish as his vessel.
Yeah.
And so that is so important, because today there's such a risk of becoming more like our culture than Christ.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of characteristics of the world that we're taking on, whether that's drunkenness or even cornography.
What is
Replace a C with a P. Can't say
okay.
that. We're on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I
And
didn't know
can't say that. And so cultural attacks on faith and, different biblical standards, and of course materialism, right? And so we only have one person whose image we should be molded into, and that's Christ. And so I want to get into 1 Corinthians 11:1, where it says, you want to read it?
Yeah. Be imitators of me as I am of Christ.
As Paul said, right? And that just comes down to, if we don't keep Christ at the forefront of who we should be imitating, we are definitely in danger of letting the world press us into its mold by getting a hold of our minds and basically turning us into compliant robots of whatever agenda that they are spewing at the time, right? And there are so many dangers within that, because once you have someone's mind, you can plant whatever you want in there. So I have to ask, does modern media distort reality and truth for its own agenda? We will talk about that right after this.
Right after this. Good job. Great job.